So you've just started your journey in Baldur's Gate 3 Honor mode, and you're wondering, how can I beat this mode? What are the secrets that I need to know to overcome this ultimate challenge in Baldur's Gate 3? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. We're going to be going through 7 key steps that will help you overcome the hardest challenge that Baldur's Gate 3 has to offer. The first secret to success is one of the most basic, and that is to control your save. What do I mean by this specifically? What I mean is you need to be in charge of researching builds. You need to be charged in terms of actually planning a route, getting an itemized list. All of this we're going to be talking about in later steps, but none of these matter if you don't control your save. So make sure you are the game creator. I've seen it time and time again playing in multiplayer with people. They will hop on a save with their friends. They will hop on a save with a random. They will be 20, 30, 40 hours into a campaign. That person decides they no longer want to play on a mode. It's gotten too difficult for them, or they just don't like it. And then now the other people are basically SOL. Don't let that be you, guys. Control your save. Make sure you are key holding and actually have control of your save file 100% of the time. Only you can get the golden dice, and you need to take full initiative to have control over that. So secret number 1, control your save. Secret number 2 comes down to preparation, guys. Have an itemized list of best in slot gear. So if you play MMORPGs, this is a familiar concept to you. You're going to be researching gear. You're going to be choosing what's best in slot depending on your build. But for a lot of CRPG and RPG fans, this isn't something they consider, and they really should for Honor mode. This is extremely important, especially when you're playing with other people. It really helps to discuss various key items, like let's say like Rhapsody, or let's say the returning pike. Make sure that you discuss with your teammates and have an alternate best in slot item that you can have, so that there isn't gear misunderstandings and you guys are as strong as you can be at a given act of the game. So what I like to do is make a short list of 1 key item for every slot and 1 alternate item. And then therefore we can plan on, hey, we need to do this 1 quest to get this key item that I need in order to beat this mode. So this is a really great tip, guys, something a lot of people don't think about. But believe me, if you institute this tip, you are going to see how much of a difference it can make. So now we are on to secret number 3, which is have a route plan. Now, I will tell you guys, I'm going to be having an optimized route for every single act of the game. So an optimized route for 1, 2, and 3. So if you're interested in that, please hit the subscribe and notification bell. But here's how you do this, guys. If you want to plan your own route, basically what you need to be asking yourself is there a safer fight that I can be taking right now? Now, starting with Act 1, this is something where you do need to know the game. I would recommend playing the game on balanced pretty extensively before you move on to Honor mode. This will help you learn the different fights in the game and what options you have. And you want to be maximizing your experience in each fight. I will give you some tips on how to do that later, because there are some very specific tips on how to get the most experience out of each fight. But generally, if you want to plan your own route, you need to be asking yourself the key question, which is there a safer fight I could be taking right now? Does this particular fight give me a big power spike in terms of itemization or experience for my build? And have I gotten the potions, elixirs, and other consumables that I need at this stage of the game? For example, from Auntie Ethel in Act 1, you can get a large amount of Hill Giant potions. These are extremely useful, because if you get these, you can basically dump your strength stat entirely and help put that stat points into other attributes, for instance, let's say Constitution or Dexterity. So this is something you need to know, and by doing this, you're going to optimize your builds, be doing a lot more damage, and generally just have a much safer Honor mode run. So on to secret number 4, and this is something that is very counterintuitive and a lot of people don't know. So in Honor mode, I would highly recommend that you don't bard or talk your way out of all your problems. Now you may be wondering, why wouldn't you want to do this? You want to avoid fights, right? Play safer. That's not really what actually happens. Generally, there's 2 big problems with barding your way out of problems. The number 1 thing is Larian has balanced the game in a way that if you use Bard, basically dialogue options to get out of fights, you will end up with a lot less XP. For instance, Yuga in the Gauntlet of Shar gives a little bit over 1000 XP if you fight him and his minions and the Displacer Beast. However, if you just get him to kill himself, kill the Displacer Beast, and kill his minions, basically through dialogue checks, you will only get between 75 and 115 XP. This is a difference of around 900 XP. Just to put this in context, generally at the end of the game, oftentimes my runs are going somewhere between 29 and 30,000 and about 35, 36,000 experience. So this is a huge, huge difference, especially as the game gets later. I would also recommend you here to set experience guidelines, and I'm going to be talking about this in other videos when I actually go through the routes. But generally, guys, you should be at least level 6 before you leave Act 1, and at least level 9.5 before you leave Act 2. This is really imperative that you hit these XP markers. Ideally, you can even hit 10 before you leave Act 2. And this is going to make your game a lot safer, and we're going to be discussing this a lot in the route planning video. But overall, guys, do not bard your way out of problems. There is so many issues with this. It denies you experience also with actually using your build, and eventually there are fights you will have to fight. And so this is just a generally bad strategy, and I would not recommend it for Honor mode. So what you should be doing is novaing your problems away. And what I mean by this, you're going to hear this term quite often in Honor mode in Baldur's Gate 3. Nova refers to basically putting out a huge amount of damage in a limited number of turns. So damage per round is something you need to be thinking about when you're creating a build. And generally, burst builds that put out a large amount of damage in the first couple rounds is ideal for Honor mode. And the reason is because with the amount of legendary resistances and legendary actions that bosses have, oftentimes the best strategy you can have is to inflict a condition that doesn't have a saving throw, very similar to prone, and then basically do a large amount of damage. One way you can do this is you can hold humanoid or you can hold monster, come up close, and basically you're guaranteed critical strikes. Now this goes into other parts of other videos in terms of build guides, in terms of how to actually get through legendary resistances, and I'm going to be discussing that in my build guides. But ultimately, what you need to know here is your general strategy is going to be to lock down the boss and then put a large amount of DPS on them in a limited number of turns. Very similar again to an MMORPG. If you're familiar with the concept of a DPS check, a lot of bosses in late game Baldur's Gate 3 have something that is very similar to this. It's basically a DPS check. You don't want to let the fight go on for too long. And so you want to really examine, every time you go into a fight, examine the enemy, look at their legendary resistances, and look at their legendary actions. And you'll see that in most cases, the best situation you have is to burst them down in a short period of time. So the number 6 secret to beating Honor mode is learning the meta. And what I mean by this is that there's some builds like TB Throw Barbarian, like TB Throw Monk, like 10-1-1 Swords Bard, that are just simply better than the vast majority of builds that you can make in the game. Now, this does not mean that you only have a couple builds that can beat Honor mode. I'm not trying to say this at all. But what I do mean is that this isn't the time to be role-playing builds that are suboptimal. You know, this isn't a D&D session where you're trying to make a high-end thief or a high charisma fighter. It's just going to suck, and it's not going to be good for Honor mode. And by doing this, you're not respecting the time of the other players you're playing with if you are playing in a group. What I will recommend, guys, is that Honor mode kind of has a very hard scaling in late Act 2 and Act 3, so it's generally much harder in these points in the game, even if you do know the encounters and even if you do have good builds. So I would be very, very cautious about making builds that may work in Act 1, but are not going to scale and not going to be able to get you through the later part of the game. So this is something that I really want to be talking about in my build guides video, and I'm going to be doing those after I make several videos here with more generalized recommendations for Honor mode. So don't worry, that is coming up. But again, this is not the time to roleplay. Go back to balance, go to explore, do your romances, do your questing, do your role playing. And then when you go to honor mode, be ready to power game. This is the time for it. Make the best builds you can. Do not be role playing, like Thievery Domain, Shadowheart in this mode. It is not going to turn out well, I guarantee you. So finally, we come to Secret 7. The most important secret is at the end of the video here, guys. And that is, do not give up. Do not give up. There's so many times that you will feel frustrated and will want to give up. Don't do it, guys. It is so, so satisfying. What I will say is I had a 52-hour wipe right before the Neverbrain in Baldur's Gate 3 honor mode. So I know the pain of getting deep act 3 and wiping, guys. It's something that you really have to come to terms with. And your best defense against that is preparation, guys. Preparation. However, even with the best preparation in the world, you can still wipe, guys, and you have to not give up. Get back on that horse, get back in the Nodloid, and learn what to do next time better. So again, guys, it's a 0.1% achievement currently. People also cheat. I've seen people back up save files. I've seen people use mods in order to cheat the achievement. Guys, I've played a lot also in the multiplayer side of the server in the Discord, in the BG3 Discord. And I will tell you that I would say less than half of the people that have this achievement have it legitimately. So guys, it is very hard, but you can do it. I believe in you. I'm going to be making a lot more videos, including a video about what not to do, the 7 things you should not do, and build order videos, as well as a breakdown act per act of how I think you should approach the act, which fights you should take. So there's a lot more content. Again, guys, hit that like button, please. It helps me out so much. I hope this video gave you some value. Please, again, leave those comments down below. I will answer every comment. I will try to get back to you and answer any questions you may have, because I want you to be able to get this. Let's not keep anybody out of this. Everybody can complete honor if they put their mind to it. Thank you guys so much again, and I will see you guys in the next video.